get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time.
And one that I will point out that I think is really important, really came at the very end of the debate, that I wish the moderators, had they been fair and neutral, that they would have focused on, because it is a very serious issue that we're facing, which is censorship under Kamala Harris that we've seen over the last 4 years. We have hard evidence that this has been taking place. And you have Tim Walz himself, who has said that free speech and the First Amendment is a privilege and that it does not apply to misinformation and disinformation.
Tim Walz just learned the hard way that when Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard team up to shred you, they don't bring scissors, they bring a wood chipper. Walz, who somehow pulls off being both the dullest and most annoying guy in politics, becomes their perfect chew toy. His entire political persona crumbles under their sharp wit and sharper insights, leaving him looking like a high school subteacher who stumbled into a governor's office.
The media has zero interest in not one, not two, not three, but 4 vets who actually served with Tim Walz coming forward to say he's a coward and he abandoned them at their greatest moment of need. Zero coverage from New York Times and CNN and Washington Post. But this scuffle over whether Trump inappropriately took pictures at a place Joe Biden's already taken pictures and released them as campaign efforts, that's dominated the news media now for 8.
Tim Walz is the politician who could get lost in his own press conference. He can ramble for 45 minutes and still leave nothing memorable. Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard don't need to stretch the truth to roast him. They just hold up a mirror. He's a walking parody of Midwestern blandness, blending arrogance with a hefty dose of cluelessness.
You said you carried weapons in war, but you've never deployed in a war zone. Campaign official of yours said you misspoke. Did you? Well, I'm proud, incredibly proud of my record. He keeps doing this. Equally proud of my service in the classroom. Did I mention I was teacher and coach and assistant coach? Okay, whatever. But he's more stolen valor. In the classroom, I'm in the classroom. My record speaks for itself. It doesn't, actually. You've put a lot of lies into that record that you've been called out on by service personnel. You must clarify.
Both he and President Trump are listening to the American people. You contrast that with what we hear from Kamala Harris, what we heard from Tim Walz, who had a really, really tough job tonight trying to defend Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's disastrous policies. But what we've heard from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden over the last 4 years is how great Biden.
The roast kicks off by slicing into his so-called leadership. Walz loves playing the down-to-earth small-town dad, but that facade collapses the second a tough question hits. He stumbles, waffles, and pretends there's a point buried somewhere. His answers are so generic they could have been copy-pasted from a motivational poster. Megyn Kelly jumps in, noting his speeches sound less like strategy and more like a passive-aggressive PTA meeting no one wants to attend.
Who's vetted Tim Walz hard back in 2018 when he was trying to elevate from congressman to governor, and he did it successfully. And here's the headline: former National Guardsman, Tim Walz is misleading the public about his time in service. I'm going to read you some excerpts. Walz often refers to his military service as he campaigns for governor. However, former members of the Minnesota National Guard are raising concerns over the discrepancies in his story, saying he's misleading the public.
He's the guy who could stand in a room of cheering supporters and still look like the least relevant person there. The roast dives into how this painfully average dude stumbled into office and convinced himself he's destined for greatness.
We saw Tim Walz, who I think he's done virtually one interview, a puff piece with CNN, and Kamala Harris by his side. And I think he had a tough job, again, of trying to defend Kamala Harris's record and did not meet the mark of even trying to make their case to the American people in a very compelling and clear way.
What makes him an easy target is his desperate bid to seem tough while being paper thin. Walz masters chest-puffing politics. Big talk about leadership, responsibility, and vision, only to back off or freeze when it matters. He sounds like a general leading an army, but acts like a nervous crossing guard. Megyn Kelly nails it, pointing out his biggest when might be looking overwhelmed by everything, from budgets to debates to a salad bar with too many choices.
And then here's two pieces of this that are really I speak like they do. People are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about, and then he goes on to blame it on school shootings. I guess he was upset about school shootings, so he lied.
Tulsi twists the knife deeper, exposing his flimsy decision-making. Under pressure, Walz doesn't rise. He melts. No strategy, just excuses. No backbone, just platitudes. He thinks no one notices. But that's why Kelly and Gabbard dismantle him so well. They reveal his career's built on smoke, mirrors, and endless rambling that tricks people into seeing competence. Then the hypocrisy. Walz poses as the man of the people, the caring everyman. Megyn mocks his stance flipping, faster than a DJ at a bad prom. Tulsi adds it's not just inconsistency. Walz assumes voters have goldfish memories.
One of the moments that stood out to me that Tim Walz was talking about how now is a time where we need Kamala Harris's steady hand of leadership, and especially with what we're seeing happening in the Middle East today, he threw out a lot of words that tried to distract away from Kamala Harris's record. Her and Joe Biden's policy on Iran was one word: don't.
The roast revels in mocking his approval obsession. Walz doesn't just want to be liked. He needs it like air. Every speech, press conference, and photo op screams, "Look at me. I'm relatable." Yet nothing feels real. His folksy Midwestern act is staged, like a regional theater hack who over-rehearsed, but forgot half the lines. Kelly calls it out. Authenticity can't be faked, no matter how many shucks he forces. Tulsi hits from another angle. Walz isn't just fake, he's fragile, tying himself in knots to dodge blame. By the end, no one recalls the question, just that he dodged it.
Well, utterly incompetent. Look how he handled the whole National Guard during the
Well, he said there was a reason for that. There's a reason he didn't deploy them, and we'll show you that soundbite too. He's got strong thoughts about how the National Guard should be deployed, and I guess he didn't think they were appropriate to go out the first couple of nights. We'll say soundbite 5. He didn't think that they were appropriate to go out the first couple of nights of Minneapolis burning post George Floyd.
I knew what he was asking for. He wanted the National Guard, and what does that mean? I think to the mayor, yes, I think it's perception. I'm certainly not questioning that. I think the mayor said, I request the National Guard. Phew, I'm out. It's great. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
The roast shifts to his delusional self-importance. Walz believes he's not just a state player, but a national heavyweight. Kelly targets that ego, comparing him to a car rental middle manager, calling himself Elon Musk. Tulsi strikes surgically, noting leadership isn't self-declared, it's proven. Gabbard adds Walz doesn't just fail to inspire. He drains energy like a human enthusiasm black hole. The comedy rolls with his clumsy relatability tries, awkward jokes, forced anecdotes, fake slang, sounding like a dad butchering TikTok lingo.
But I do want to talk about Tim Walz because, my God, my very first story at Fox News, very young cub reporter, was Swift Boat Veterans for Truth, coming after John Kerry and his misrepresentations about his military service. Tim Walz has a Swift boat problem of his own. If you look back at Alpha News, and this is a great news organization, we had them on when they did the documentary about the trial of Derek Chauvin and the smear job by so many against him. I'm not defending, the tape. I'm just saying, if you actually watch this documentary, you'll be horrified at what was done to Chauvin by the officials in charge in Minnesota.
Kelly pounces, joking that every cool attempt kills a teen with secondhand embarrassment. Tulsi says it's not just uncool, he's clueless about it, thinking every forced smile lands while the audience cringes. The roast turns demolition. His record, persona, ego, nothing spared. Kelly likens him to a high school pep rally star, not a governor. Gabbard builds on it. His contradictions, insecurities, and hollow boasts are graded failures, ripe for skewering. They leave Walz charred, a politician stripped to his ridiculous core.
But stop saying you speak like we do. I speak like regular people. Bullshit is that. No, you don't, sir. We don't lie about military service we didn't actually perform, like going to war. We don't steal valor by saying that we had a higher rank in the National Guard than we did. We don't run around saying we were part of We served in operating Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan when we didn't. We don't stand and watch somebody say that we were in combat in Iraq when we weren't.
The final punchline is brutal but fitting. Walz wanted a legacy as a leader, but Kelly and Gabbard made him a punchline, and he won't even get it. He'll keep smiling awkwardly, rambling, convinced he's winning while the world laughs. The sting deepens with his fake calm. Under pressure, it cracks. His face tightens, tone shifts, and the nice guy act collapses into irritation. He doesn't answer questions, just recycles buzzword clusters with thoughtful pauses that are really just filler.
Fallout continues for Tim Walz on the disastrous performance he delivered, in particular when it comes to his self-described knuckle-headed behavior, which was just his latest in a series of lies. The reason he resorted to, I'm a knucklehead, was he got confronted with his latest lie that's been unearthed. There's a long list of them. This one was that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square disaster unfolded, when hundreds of people were killed. You know whether you were in a place where hundreds of people are being massacred by their government when it happens. But he continues to try to say, like, oh, gee, I was just kind of confused. You know, that happened in May and I was there in August, but I guess I just imagined that I was there, whatever.
Kelly carves into this, calling his language less leadership, more a motivational podcast out of ideas mid-episode. She notes his answers consistently confuse more than clarify. The roast exposes his popularity delusion. Walz thinks his presence carries weight, like genuine admiration. Tulsi says he mistakes passive tolerance for love, fueling his oversized self-image. It darkens with his indecisiveness record, bragging about collaboration. But it's just endless delays and paralysis.
Take a listen to this answer.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing uniform in this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, Congress, or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around.
Kelly quips Walz would take 6 months to pick a pizza, and by then, the party's over. Tulsi delivers the kill shot. Indecisive leaders aren't leaders, they're placeholders. The roast becomes a public dissection, leaving Walz in the wreckage of his image, shrinking under their glare. The irony seals it. He thought he could coast under the radar. They strip away fake relatability, hollow rhetoric, and borrowed charisma, revealing a man who climbed too high and can't get down. His legacy won't be strength, but mediocrity, preserved by this merciless roast that even his fake smile couldn't survive. That if you loved this roast, hit subscribe and join the fun. Share your thoughts below. We want to hear from you.